Okay, in this tutorial, in the previous tutorials, we used curve modeling tools to generate the profile to create this surface revolution sleeve for our LED flashlight. In this tutorial, we're going to focus on using some solid modeling tools, namely some Boolean difference, Boolean union, and we're going to use the polar array tool to add some details to our flashlight. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a fluting detail to the top and to the bottom of our flashlight. We're going to use round pipes and our polar array tool to achieve this. So let's go back into our 4 view right now, and we can use our tool here, right click here, and that centers that in each one of our windows. There seems to be 2 poly surfaces here. Oh, we generated 2 revolution objects. Let me look at them both, because I think one is with and one is without the fluting. So we're going to change the object layer on one of these. I'm going to turn this off. Okay. And actually, we're going to work with this one. Okay. Now, let's come over here into our front window. And we're going to start by drawing a line segment along this top edge. And I'm going to use my near snap to bring it close to the edge here. I don't want to go all the way down. I'm going to like this, and I'm going to extend it beyond that top edge. So I have a curve here right along this top edge. Onto that curve, I'm going to add a solid pipe, but I'm going to use a rounded pipe. Okay, and here I'm going to set the diameter. When I do this, I don't want it to extend beyond the interior wall of my object, which is located there. I want to go about halfway in between, like so. I'm going to hit enter, and then I've created this pipe right here, this piping object right here. Okay, and now that I've done that, I'm going to move to my top window so I can look down on it, and I see that it's located here. And notice how I maintain that point, which is going to serve as the center of revolution for my ArrayPolar. Now, ArrayPolar rotates a object around a pivot point in a circular manner, in a polar manner. Okay, so I'm going to type in the command with this object selected. I'm going to type in the command ArrayPolar. Okay, and I'm going to place the center of the array here, and the number of items I'm going to say 12, and I can right click. The reference angle reference is 360, and I get something that looks like that. Okay, let's go take a look at what that looks like, and that looks like that. Okay, which is pretty good. Okay, now you notice that I've extended my line beyond the object, so it's going to sort of cut into it. And so now that we've done that, I'll accept that. Now, if I wanted to, I usually like to model in odd numbers, so if I change that number to 9, you notice that now I have 9 elements. If I wanted to modify the fill angle, I could change the fill angle to 180, and it only goes around halfway. So you can interact with this as you're working. I'm going to rechange this to 360, and I'm going to rotate that around there like so. Okay, and now that I've done this, I can now I'm going to accept it, and these objects have been added, okay, to my design. Now I could do this, but then I'd have these sort of like spindly objects to this. And what I actually want to do, I actually want to cut, see what it looks like if I cut these out of that top. So I notch the top. And the way that I'm going to do that, I'm going to use the Boolean difference command. Okay. And it asks you for the surface that you want to subtract from. I want to subtract from this surface, this poly surface. And I'm going to right click to enter that. And then select surfaces that you want to subtract with, and I want to select all of those surfaces there, and I'm going to right click, and there you have it. Those have been notched out. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to get those notched out of the top so that I get something that looks like that. Okay, so that I get something that looks like that. Now let's say I wanted to add a bead, some circular beads around the center there. I go to the front window, and in this case I'm going to get a sphere, and these are solid modeling tools, so we're modeling with solids, and in this case I'm going to draw sphere, and I'm going to make sure that that it doesn't intersect this interior wall. I don't want it to go beyond that because then it'll create a hole. So I'm going to do that like that. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to my top window, and I'm going to go to the shelf, and I'm going to get that ArrayPolar command again, and we're going to make the center of the array right there. We're going to keep the same number of elements, 9, 360, and now I have those circles added to the mix. We'll go back to the front window, input those. Now, what I want to do with these, I can have these one of two ways, and perhaps this will be I could do these one of two ways. I could do these as an outie, or I can do these as an innie here, and I'm thinking that I will probably like these more if they're in interior elements. So I'm going to go over here and do a Boolean difference again. I want to subtract from that object, and I want to subtract with these. Notice that I do a left-right, select everything, and then we difference those, and now those are a notched out hole. Okay, now I'm going to show you a variation on the polar array technique that we just used before. I'm going to do a variation on that, and I'm going to go to the front window, and I'm going to notch the bottom. I'm going to notch the bottom edge. Okay, and this time I'm going to take this line right here. I'm going to follow. And let me turn off my ortho snap so I can follow the direction, the arc direction of this line right here. And I'm going to slide this down so that it follows the direction of that chamfer. Okay, I could chamfer it as I did with the other ones in this manner, but I want to show you a different type of detail, and I'm going to go over that with a rounded corner pipe, and I'll use the same dimensions as the top so that things are uniform, and I get something that looks like that. And if we go in our perspective window, we have a notch that looks like that. Okay, now let's go over here, and I want to add like one more slight twist to this. I'm going to take this, and let me see if I can do this, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to place the center of rotation in here. And I don't know whether or not I should do this in the top window or in this one. And I'm going to rotate this slightly like that. And let me look at this and see if I'm getting what I want. And I believe I am. Okay, we'll see in a second how well this works. I want to slide this down a little bit here so that that top isn't. And so it's sort of like a catty-corner rotation. And now I'm going to do an ArrayPolar. And let me get my point snap on. I'm going to use that point as the center of the array. And I rotate those around. And I get sort of this effect. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but we'll find out. Okay? And so here once again, I'll accept that. And let's do a Boolean difference. And I'm going to select this surface to subtract from. And I'm going to, oops, let's run that again. And I'm going to select these to subtract, oops, let me escape out of here because I had this selected. Do that. I'm going to subtract from that surface. I'm going to subtract with these elements. And I'm going to press enter. And I get that type of bite in the bottom where it's actually angled as well as notched. And that was the general effect that I was going for with this. And so, and I think for now we'll stop this one here before we move any further. But that's a good way that you can use some solid modeling techniques to add details to your flashlight model. And once again, the main commands are ArrayPolar to array them around the center, and the other commands are your Boolean union, Boolean difference commands. And we'll stop it here.